Hello and welcome to the Jewish Curiosity Podcast, where we ask questions and take journeys. We are beginning a new series today called Searching for God, trying to find spirituality here in this physical world, in space and in time. And in this episode, we are going to discuss finding God in nature. Can it be done? Let's look at it together. I hope you enjoy. Once after I finished giving a class, a student came up to me and asked me a question that really stayed with me. She told me that nature was very meaningful to her and she wanted to know whether it was allowed to go out into nature and seek a connection with God there. See, there is an assumption that a lot of people have that God is to be found in the synagogue, the place of prayer, and God is to be found in the Beit HaMidrash, in the place of study. But basically everything outside of that is essentially a distraction. However, this assumption is to be questioned. Because while it's certainly true that we connect to God through prayer in the synagogue and through Torah learning in the Beit HaMidrash, the prophets seem to say that it's not limited to that. Melol chol haaretz kavodo, the entire world is filled with God's glory. So what does that mean? In what sense is God's glory everywhere? And how does that enable us to connect to Him? The first thing is life. Everything in the world has a spark of godliness inside it, inasmuch as God is giving everything life. We know that human beings have a soul, but the truth is everything in existence actually has its own inner spirituality. From animals to plants to inanimate objects, everything contains a spiritual life force, and inasmuch as God is the giver of life, we can say that everything contains a divine spark. The second thing is purpose. God has a plan for the world. The world has a destiny, and every single thing in the world has a purpose, a role that it plays in bringing the world to its ultimate destiny. Every person, every event, even every drop of rain in the ocean, God infuses everything with purpose, meaning, and a share in the destiny of the world. And the third thing is wisdom. The world is amazing. Nature is astonishing. The more you study science, the more you ought to be blown away by the beauty and complexity of everything that exists. It's true that there are those who say that this sophistication is a coincidence, but we say that it's wisdom. So in encountering nature, we encounter a world infused with the wisdom of God. So, in connecting to nature, we can encounter the glory of God in the form of life, purpose, and wisdom. However, there is one more thing that we have to add, and this thing might be the most profound of all. It's not just that the world has godliness in it, it's that the world is actually a reflection of God. Meaning to say, God's infinite essence is entirely beyond our comprehension. However, his interaction with the world, the way he presents himself to us, is something that we can start to understand. Specifically, God has three main forms of interaction with the world. The first is chesed, kindness. Sometimes God is freely bestowing goodness upon us. The second is gevura, strength or restraint. Sometimes God is holding back his light from us. And the third is rachamim, compassion or balance. Sometimes God acts in a sort of intermediate manner. And what God did is he created reflections of these divine characteristics here in the natural world. For example, the human eye. The Ramchal explains that the reason we have three main components to the eye is because it's meant to be an embodiment of these three characteristics. The white of the eye is chesed, the infinite blank canvas. The pupil, which is really red, is gevura, that harsher interaction. And the color, the iris, is rachamim, the intermediate between the two extremes. Another example is animals. The lion is the embodiment of chesed. Like chesed, the lion, the king of the jungle, knows no bounds. The ox is the embodiment of gevura. It stays in its place and operates with strength. And the eagle is the embodiment of rachamim. In order to have flight, you have to have balance. The list goes on. God made a world, a reflection of himself, so that through getting to know the natural world, we can get to know Him. So, as for the original question, are we allowed to go out into nature to connect with God? Not only are we allowed to, we're obligated to. The world was made the way that it is so that we could do precisely this task. Through life, purpose, and wisdom, through the reflections of God Himself, our job is to go outside, to explore, to discover, to connect.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Jewish Curiosity podcast. If you want to find out more or check out more episodes, you can go to www.jewishcuriosity.com, or you can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Have an amazing day, and hope to see you next time.